Today we're going to reflect on ST 51.25, Arakeya Sutta. The discourse on No Need to Hide, A 7.55. The theme here is that the Buddha has nothing to hide, and no one can blame him for certain things. So there are 4 things he doesn't have to hide, and there are 3 things for which he is irreproachable. Nobody can find fault with him. So let's find out what these 7 things are, because they also remind us how we should conduct ourselves as practicing Buddhist. The translation is on page 176, Arakeya Sutta, the discourse on No Need to Hide, A 7.55. Bhikshus, there are these 4 things about which the Tathagata has nothing to hide, and these 3 things for which he is blame-free. What are the 4 things about which that the Tathagata has nothing to hide? 1. The Tathagata, bhikshus, is one whose bodily conduct is pure. There is no bodily misconduct that the Tathagata should hide, thinking, let no one know about this. The Tathagata, okay, so the first thing is the Buddha says, I have nothing to hide in terms of my actions. In other words, as we today say, the Buddha is transparent, so to speak. You see him acting this way without any secrets. Then, number 2, the Tathagata, bhikshus, is one whose verbal conduct is pure. There is no verbal misconduct of the Tathagata that he should hide, thinking, let no one know about this. So his speech too is pure in the sense that he does not lie, and he does not break up friendships. He does not use harsh words to hurt people, and whatever he says is useful to us in some way. Number 3, the Tathagata bhikshus is one whose mental conduct is pure. There is no mental misconduct of the Tathagata that he should hide, thinking, let no one know about this. Of course, this is a bit difficult for any normal person to know, to read the Buddha's mind. He has nothing to hide, even by way of thought, so to speak. In other words, he speaks as he thinks. We know his mind very well for 45 years of teaching. And number 4, the Tathagata bhikshus is one whose livelihood is pure. There is no wrong livelihood of the Tathagata that he should hide, thinking, let no one know about this. So, we have body, speech, and mind. And the 4th one is the Buddha's livelihood, how he supports himself. So there's nothing to hide there. These are the 4 things about which the Tathagata has nothing to hide. Okay. All right, so let's reflect at these 4. What do they mean for us today? All right, so the Buddha has nothing to hide bodily, verbally, mentally, and by way of livelihood. The Buddha has nothing to hide by way of his actions, because by his body he shows a calm example. By looking at him, you see this calmness, you see this radiance, you see his example in his person, as we say. So, but nowadays we see not many monks have that kind of calm demeanor. Many of them are overweight, they eat too much, they overdress themselves. Instead of covering both shoulders properly with their robes, they wear a shirt and things like that, even though the weather is warm. So these are signs that they have not been really seriously studying the suttas, how the Buddha lived. The excuse is that times have changed. But the reality is, I think the monks are becoming vain. It's important how they look to people. So why is that so? So that they attract patronage, attract funds, and so on and so forth. So this is not helpful, in other words. Right? So we have, especially if we are monks and nuns, we have to follow the Buddha's example. It's all there in the suttas. And if we do not give priority to the suttas, what guide do we have? We need to follow the world. We need to please the world. We become people of the world, in other words. Number two, the Buddha says that verbally, in terms of speech, he has nothing to hide either. So, in other words, he will teach Dhamma to you the same way as teach Dhamma to someone else in terms of Dhamma. In other words, the teaching is given to us according to our ability to understand and our needs. That is the only variation, if you like. Speech is a very important aspect of the Buddha's teaching, of Buddha Dhamma, because we use speech to communicate the Dhamma just as I'm doing it now. So it is important to speak the truth that is beneficial at the right time. Sometimes if we hold back, then things can get worse. The Dhamma can suffer. That is a manner of speaking. Of course, the Dhamma does not suffer, but we are the ones who will suffer because we do not get the real deal. We do not really get to know the Dhamma as it is. Instead, we hear some rehashed versions, some very strange teachings with translations which are confusing. Each teacher tries to be different so that he legitimizes himself, as it were, as if they find it, they need to show that they are relevant. So it shows lack of confidence, in other words. If you study the Dhamma, you get this sense of joy and peace, and you just want to teach people the Dhamma by that joy. And people can sense that joy, they can sense the enthusiasm. And that's all you need to do. Make sure you have faith in the suttas, in the Dhamma, and speak the Dhamma that way. Now, thirdly, the Buddha says mentally, he also is open, there's nothing to hide. As I said, it's difficult to know this, but from our association with the Buddha, from our understanding of the Buddha in the suttas, we can see that there's nothing for him to hide. I mean, he even by his mental peace, he shows us his example. Here the Buddha is reminding us we got to keep our three karmic doors pure, in other words. Our intention of bodily action, speech, and thought should all be kind of rooted in non-greed, non-hate, non-delusion. Right, so these are the three things the Buddha doesn't have to hide. He's open, in other words. So what he's saying is, we too should be like that as far as possible. All right, now next, the Buddha says there are three things for which he is blame-free, irreproachable. No one can justly find fault with them. Section 5. That the Tathagata Bhikshus is one who has well taught the Dhamma. Here indeed I see no ground, Bhikshus, on which any recluse or Brahmin or Deva or Mara or Brahma or anyone else in the world could justly accuse me thus. Such and such is the reason that the Dhamma is not well taught by you, right? So, in other words, you say, oh, the Buddha did not teach this Dhamma well. We can't find that kind of fault. Not seeing any such ground, bhikshus, I dwell, accomplish in security, accomplish in fearlessness, accomplish in intrepidity or moral courage. So here basically the Buddha is saying, I have taught you all that I can in the best way that I can. Now, of course, scholars will tell us the words that we read or hear from the suttas are not the ipsissima verba of the Buddha, not the actual words of the Buddha. Well, we don't have the actual words of the Buddha, but there is no tape recording that goes back so far, 2,500 years ago. Of course, we now know well enough the suttas that were handed down to us are edicted transcripts, their teachings put together in such a way that we are able to read these teachings with their context, their background, and very often the sutta editors would present these teachings to show that the Buddha is someone very special to them. So often enough we hear the Buddha, we read the suttas, it seems as if the Buddha is praising himself. The Buddha would say great things about himself. But that's actually is the voice of the editors, the way that the monks, if you like, the early monks, early editors of the sutta, try to present to us this picture of this teacher who is so wonderful, and this is what we have heard from him, and this is what he told us. So the editors, in other words, they're trying to present the teachings as if spoken by the Buddha. At the same time, they are also recording it for us, so to speak. Right? So they have this kind. You have to know this when you read the suttas. And once you understand this, then you have no difficulty with some of the way that the Buddha is speaking. So this is a kind of a stylized way of presenting the oral tradition, in other words. It's an edited transcript in the sense that it's laid down neatly, systematically, so that we can remember, understand, and practice those teachings by the Buddha. So in that sense, the Dhamma is well taught, well presented, well preserved, well handed down. So now it is up to us to practice these teachings. Now then, the next one, it is the sixth quality, which is number 2 of the 3 blameless things. We have in section 9, the Buddha says that the way or the practice, bhikshus, leading to nirvana has been well declared or well defined by me to my disciples, practicing which my disciples will, having right here and now, realize for themselves through direct knowledge, attain and dwell in the freedom of mind and freedom by wisdom that are influx free with the destruction of the mental influxes. Basically, this means the disciples have properly practiced it and attained peace of mind, freedom from suffering, awakening. Here indeed I see no ground, bhikshus, on which any recluse or Brahmin or Deva or Mara or Brahma or anyone else in the world could justly accuse me of the opposite of this. In other words, that the Buddha did not teach, the Buddha's teaching will not lead to nirvana. Now just a point of interest here. You notice the Buddha in section 10 here and also in other similar sections refers to the world. It says anyone, any recluse or Brahmin. Here we have the 2 big groups in India in the Buddha's time. The recluses are the anti-establishment. They are anti-Vedas, anti-Brahmin. They are the so-called reform movement, if you like. And you have the Brahmins, who are the mainstream priests, if you like, those upper class who try to maintain the social division, claiming that they are the higher class, okay? So there is actually one group in between, and these are the wanderers, and they kind of wander around looking for answers and so on. But generally, if they are serious, they are included under the term recluse, samana. So here the Buddha is talking about people who are worth listening to, people who are wise, people who say things which are sensible and useful. Then the Buddha talks about Mara, Deva, Mara, Brahma. Okay. Now, if you divide the heavenly world, you have the Devas, those are the beings of the form world, and then you have the rather Deva, usually we can say they are the Devas of the sense world, and sometimes the term also applies to Devas of the form world, but usually the form world, the formless world, they are called Brahmas. So these terms are kind of loose, even the word deity, devata, can refer to all the three kinds of devas in the three worlds. So deva, devata, kind of, they're almost synonyms, if you like. Then, but devata is a special meaning. Devata is an abstract noun. In other words, we can translate, it's best to translate devata as deity in a sense of godliness, a quality we can cultivate. In other words, we will talk about this another time. So, and then there is Mara, who is like someone who is in charge of the whole world, and he wants everyone to stay in this samsara, in this world. Right, so the Buddha basically is reminding us, no one can accuse him of saying that the Dhamma that he has taught does not lead to nirvana. So here again, we do have people in the later teachings, later Buddhism, telling us that what the Buddha has taught in the early texts does not lead to nirvana. You still need to practice, so on and so forth. We should not have any dealings with such teachings. They are wrong, and they're clearly against the suttas. And these people who talk in this way either do not know the suttas or do not care for the suttas. They do not respect the three jewels. They probably have some other aims. These sort of things happen, and sometimes it can be quite shocking. We wonder why they do these things. So we just need to avoid them, keep to the early teachings and practice those teachings. Now finally, the Buddha says, countless hundreds bhikshus are the assemblies of my disciples. Here, what the Buddha is saying is there are many who have awakened, having right here and now realized for themselves through direct knowledge, attain and dwell in the freedom of mind and freedom by wisdom that are influx-free with the destruction of the mental influxes. Here, indeed, I see no ground, bhikshus, on which anyone in this world or beyond this world can ever accuse of the Buddha that he did not teach something that would benefit, that has produced countless number of saints. That is the stream winner, one-returner, non-returner, and arahats. So here basically the Buddha is saying, if you do practice the Dharma, even or at least reflect on impermanence, if you do that, you will surely, says the Buddha in the Anicca Jakku Sutta, you will surely attain stream winning in this life itself. So here we have these 7 qualities which the Buddha says that he has. 4 things there's nothing to hide, 3 things no one can find fault with him. Is to remind us to follow him, in our living conduct and to practice the Dharma. Not to just talk about it, not to just write about it, not to have grand ideas. Well, you can have all those things you want, but you must never forget that you have to dedicate, prioritize your time for the practice of attaining at least stream winning in this life. Because if we don't, then it is very likely we'll be reborn in some subhuman plane in the next life. We're going to get caught there for a long, long time, and it's going to be very difficult to get out, to attain awakening. Even if we are reborn in the heavenly worlds, it's like a nice long holiday, and we will get so carried away by pleasure that we, again, forget to practice, to attain the path. So, living in a human state is the best. We have the opportunity to practice. So I hope you will seriously think about aspiring to stream winning in this life. At least find out at once what it is about. It's all there somewhere on the Dhammafera website. You can also find something in our Facebook, online, and so on. So the teachings are all there. Just go to them, study them, so that you will be happy in this life itself, and in time to come attain the path and awakening. So the Buddha says, these are the four things that the Tathagata does not need to hide, and these are the three things he is blame-free. So these are wonderful things for reflection. There are extra notes there for you to look at.